The sun had set, leaving behind a sky painted with shades of purple and orange. The air was still and heavy with the silence of the wilderness. Far from any town, in a remote area where only the brave or foolish would venture, a man named Ryan crouched in the dirt, preparing his trap. His hands moved quickly, but with a sense of purpose. He had heard the stories about strange lights in the sky and mysterious creatures, but he had never believed them. To him, they were just rumors. Tales told by the old folks to scare children. Ryan wasn't a superstitious man. He was a survivalist, someone who loved the outdoors and thrived in the wild. He had spent years mastering the art of trapping, hunting, and living off the land. But tonight, something felt different. The air was charged with a strange energy, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. It was as if the land itself was whispering to him, warning him of something unknown. He finished setting the trap, a simple device made from rope and a series of wooden stakes designed to capture anything that might wander into it. He stepped back, wiping the sweat from his brow, and looked around. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal animals, but there was an eerie stillness about the place. Even the wind had stopped, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Ryan didn't know why he had come out here tonight. There had no signs of anything unusual, no lights in the sky, no strange noises, but something inside him had told him to come. Something had drawn him to this very spot, deep in the heart of the forest. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden, sharp noise like a twig snapping in the distance. He froze. His heart skipped a beat. There was something out there. Something big. Ryan's instincts kicked in. He grabbed his rifle, always at his side, and slowly began to move toward the noise. His eyes scanned the darkness, but the trees and bushes blocked his view. The forest was dense here, and every step seemed to echo in the silence. Then he saw it. A flash of movement. Something or someone was running through the trees. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. It was too fast to be an animal. The way it moved, deliberate too, human. He tightened his grip on the rifle, unsure whether to approach or turn back. But before he could make a decision, there was another noise. This time, it was closer, much closer. And then, without warning, something stepped into his trap. Ryan's heart raced as he rushed forward, his mind racing with questions. What was it? Was it an animal? A person? A stranger? But when he saw what had triggered his trap, he stopped. Dead in his tracks, it wasn't what he had expected. The creature caught in the ropes was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was small, not more than 4 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like polished metal. Its eyes glowed faintly, a soft, eerie blue that seemed to pulse in the dim light. Its features were delicate, almost ethereal, with pointed ears and a face that was both alien and beautiful at the same time. For a moment, Ryan stood frozen, staring at the creature. He had no idea what it was. The fear that shot through him was immediate and overwhelming. He had heard the stories, of course, the ones about the aliens who had visited Earth, but they were just stories, right? Nothing more than fantasies and wild imaginations. But here it was, standing before him, caught in his trap. The creature struggled, pulling against the ropes that bound it. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest as he watched it fight to free itself. Its movements were fast, too fast for a human, but the trap was strong. It wasn't going anywhere. Ryan took a step forward, unsure of what to do. Should he let it go? Should he try to help it? Or was this some kind of trick? A part of him wanted to run, to leave the creature trapped in the forest and forget everything he had seen. But another part of him, something deeper, something primal, felt drawn to it. The creature's eyes locked onto his. And for a moment, Ryan thought he saw something like fear in them. It wasn't just struggling to escape, it was terrified. Suddenly, the creature let out a high-pitched screech, and Ryan flinched, instinctively raising his rifle. But it wasn't attacking. No, it was pleading. The sound was a desperate cry, one that made Ryan's stomach twist with unease. It was like nothing he had ever heard before. Ryan's mind raced. He had no idea what to do. The creature was clearly intelligent, but was it hostile? Or was it just a lost traveler, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time? It tried to speak, but its voice was strange, foreign, like a series of clicks and hisses. Ryan couldn't understand it, but he could feel the desperation in its tone. It wasn't just an alien being, it was something more, something that had been trapped and was now pleading for release. Ryan took another step closer, his rifle still aimed at the ground. He could see the creature's chest rising and falling rapidly, as if it was trying to calm itself. But its eyes never left him, never stopped pleading, in that moment. Ryan knew one thing for certain. This was no ordinary animal. It was something else entirely. Something he didn't understand. And for the first time in his life, Ryan was unsure of what to do next. Would he let it go? Would he be forced to make a decision that could change everything? The trap was set, but Ryan had no idea what was truly caught in it. The trap that had once held the creature now seemed to mock its captor. The moment Ryan stepped closer, it ceased struggling, its movements becoming oddly still, as though the fight had drained from it. The alien's wide, glowing eyes stared at him with an expression that sent a shiver down his spine. Fear, genuine, raw fear, was written all over its face. It wasn't the kind of fear one would expect from a wild animal trapped in a snare. No, this was something far more complex. Ryan had seen fear before. He had witnessed it in the wild, seen it in the eyes of animals when cornered, in the flinch of prey when a predator loomed too close. But this was different. It was as if the creature could see into him, peering into the very core of his being. And in that moment, he knew with a certainty that the creature wasn't afraid of being eaten, not in the way he had feared. It was terrified of something else entirely. The alien's trembling body shifted slightly, its skin rippling like the surface of a calm lake disturbed by a single drop of water. Its chest rose and fell with sharp, quick breaths. Soft, eerie, blue light from its eyes flickered like a heartbeat. Pulsing in time with the tension between them, Ryan paused, unsure of how to proceed. His rifle felt heavier in his hands, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The creature wasn't attacking. It wasn't trying to run or fight. It was simply afraid. But afraid of what? Without warning, the creature let out a sound. That sent a tremor through Ryan. It wasn't a scream or a growl, but a strange, haunting series of clicks, like a language that seemed to twist and bend the very air around them. Its hands, thin, delicate, and elongated, reached out toward him, though the movements were hesitant, as though it was unsure if it should trust him. Or maybe it feared that even the slightest gesture would send him into a panic. Ryan lowered his rifle slightly, the tension in his chest loosening ever so slightly, but the unease lingered. The creature's fear was infectious. Something in its eyes made him second-guess his every move. Was it simply frightened? Or was there something more? Something that Ryan couldn't yet comprehend. The creature's eyes darted to the rope's binding. Its gaze was filled with a mix of longing and panic, and its body squirmed, trying to free itself. But there was no way out. The trap had done its job too well, and the ropes were tight. Leaving the creature stuck in the middle of a terrifying situation, Ryan's mind raced. He couldn't understand its language, its fears, or even its motives, but he could see the terror in its every movement. It was afraid of him, yes, but not in the way he had initially thought. It wasn't afraid of being eaten or harmed by him. It was afraid of something else, something far worse. He stepped closer, his heart pounding in his chest. The creature flinched as he moved, as if expecting him to strike, to hurt it. Ryan stopped, his breath caught in his throat. What was it running from? Why was it so terrified of him? A human? What was it that had this creature so consumed by fear? The question lingered in the air between them, hanging like a thick fog, suddenly. The alien's eyes flickered to the dark woods behind him. A new fear seemed to wash over Iton, even deeper terror than before. Its body froze completely, and its pupils contracted as it stared into the night, unblinking. Ryan instinctively turned around, scanning the surrounding forest. But there was nothing. The trees stood tall and silent, casting long shadows under the pale moonlight. Yet the creature's eyes were locked on the darkness, and its entire form seemed to shrink, its skin shimmering as if trying to blend into the shadows. "Is someone following you?" Ryan whispered, though the words barely left his mouth. His voice sounded too loud in the silence, but the creature didn't respond. It only trembled more violently, its eyes not leaving the darkened woods. Ryan's instincts told him to move quickly, to get the creature out of the trap into safety. But safety from what? What could be worse than this creature's fear? Something else was coming, something that the creature was clearly afraid of. But what? And why had it ended up here, on Earth, in Ryan's trap? The alien's fear was palpable, and it seemed to grow stronger with every passing second. There was no explanation in his mind that made sense. He wasn't sure what to do next. He untie it, try to help, or leave it behind. The decision felt impossible, as if something beyond him was controlling the situation. Before Ryan could make up his mind, the alien let out another high-pitched cry, more urgent this time, its voice filled with desperation. It wasn't a warning, no. It was a plea. A plea for him to understand, to take action before whatever was out there in the dark reached them. The creature's eyes locked onto his once more, and for the briefest moment, Ryan saw a glimmer of trust in them, desperate, fragile trust. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like the predator in the wilderness. He felt like the prey, trapped by forces he could neither understand nor control. And with that, Ryan realized the truth. This wasn't just an accident. He hadn't merely caught an alien in his trap. He had caught something much more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. Something that was terrified, and something that might just be the key to an even greater mystery. Ryan's hands trembled as he knelt beside the alien creature, watching the strange, fear-filled glow in its eyes. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Its delicate body was caught in the trap, but it wasn't fighting anymore. Instead, it had grown completely still, its wide eyes locked on him, a silent plea hanging in the air. The silence of the forest stretched on, thick and unnerving. Now the air felt heavier now, as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting. Ryan's pulse quickened, but his instincts told him to stay calm. This wasn't an animal he could simply hunt or capture. This was something different, a sentient being, perhaps far more intelligent than any creature he had encountered in his life. He reached for the ropes, his fingers brushing against the shimmering skin of the alien. The texture was unlike anything he could describe, smooth yet hard, like polished stone, yet soft as silk. As his hands worked to loosen the ropes, the alien tensed. Ryan paused, not wanting to make any wrong moves. He was acutely aware of how fragile this moment felt. Everything could spiral out of control. The alien's eyes darted nervously towards the woods again, that same terror creeping back into its gaze. Ryan could feel the tension building in the air, thick as smoke. Something was coming. He didn't know what, but the creature's fear was enough to make his heart pound in his chest. It wasn't just afraid of Hemet. It was afraid of something else, something far more dangerous than him. Suddenly, with a quiet hiss, the ropes binding the creature's legs snapped open. It shot up, swift and fluid like a shadow, and Ryan barely had time to react. In one swift motion, the alien leapt from the trap, its small form darting into the woods like a phantom. It was gone in an instant, vanishing into the darkness of the forest. Ryan stood frozen, stunned. He hadn't expected that. One moment, the creature had been trapped, unable to move, and the next she was free. His heart raced as he tried to process what had just happened. How could it have moved so fast? It had been struggling earlier, its panic clear. Now it was gone, faster than anything he had ever seen. His mind raced. Should he follow? Should he let it go? The creature had been afraid of him, yes, but it hadn't attacked him. It hadn't even tried to hurt him. All it had done was try to escape, but Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play here. Something that had made the alien so terrified of him, and whenever else was out there in the dark. Without thinking, Ryan grabbed his rifle and bolted into the woods after it. His feet sank into the soft earth with each hurried step, his breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. He didn't know why he was chasing after the creature, but something inside him told him to keep going, to find answers. He couldn't just let it disappear into the night without knowing more. As he ran, he saw the faint glow of the creature's eyes ahead, flickering in the distance. It was moving fast, almost too fast to track. Ryan's breath hitched in his throat. There was no way a human could move that quickly, no matter how skilled they were. This alien was something else entirely. Something not from Earth, not from any world Ryan knew. He pushed forward, the trees around him blurring in his peripheral vision. The deeper he went into the woods, the more strange and alien the landscape seemed to become. It wasn't just the creature that was out of place. It was the entire atmosphere. The forest around him seemed to grow thicker, the shadows darker, and the air colder. It felt as though the world itself was shifting in response to the presence of this being. Ryan's steps grew more frantic as the creature's glow grew dimmer, farther away. He could still hear the faint rustle of leaves and the rapid movement of the alien ahead, but the distance between them was increasing. He had to catch up. He had to understand. What was it running from? Then, without warning, a high-pitched noise filled the air, a shrill, unnatural sound that cut through the night like a blade. It was a sound that made Ryan's blood run cold, something between a screech and a howl. The alien's fear flared up once again, and Ryan felt his own heart race. What was that sound? And why had the alien reacted to it so violently? Ryan slowed his pace, his instincts telling him to be careful. He crouched low behind a thick bush, peering out toward the flickering light of the alien's glow. His eyes scanned the trees, but there was nothing. No sign of movement, no indication of what had caused the alien's reaction. The forest was silent again, but the tension in the air remained thick, like the calm before a storm. And then, in the distance, Ryan saw a figure moving swiftly through the trees, its shape distorted by the shadows. It was larger than any animal Ryan had ever seen. And it was moving toward the alien. The alien girl must have seen it too, for her body tensed again, her eyes locked on the figure. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and for the first time, Ryan saw a different kind of fear, one that didn't come from being trapped, but from something far more dangerous. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he realized that the creature wasn't running from him at all. It wasn't afraid of being trapped or captured. It was afraid of the thing in the woods, the thing that was closing in on them both. In a flash, the alien bolted again, this time with more speed and determination. Ryan hesitated for only a moment before following, his mind set on one thing: survival. Whatever that figure was, he had to get the alien to safety. They both needed to escape, or neither of them would survive what was hunting them. Ryan's breath came in sharp, quick gasps as he darted through the thick underbrush. Following the glowing trail of the alien girl, her small, lithe form was barely visible now, her shimmering body blending with the shadows of the forest. The fear that radiated from her still hung heavy in the air, urging him onward. She was fast, impossibly fast, moving through the trees with an agility that was beyond human comprehension. But Ryan was determined to keep up. The shrill sound that had echoed through the woods earlier still rang in his ears. He had no idea what it was or where it had come from, but he knew it wasn't good. Whatever hunted her, whatever was chasing them, was relentless. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest, the adrenaline making his senses feel sharper, more alert. He couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency, as if the very air around him was charged with danger. As he pushed forward, the trees grew denser, the shadows deeper. The forest around him seemed to close in, the path narrowing with each step. The ground was uneven, and his feet sank into the soft, damp earth. The sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets, the rustle of leaves were drowned out by the sound of his pounding footsteps and the quick, labored breathing of the alien girl ahead. Every now and then, he would glimpse her glowing eyes. A fleeting flicker of blue that seemed to lead him further into the heart of the forest. Ryan's thoughts raced. Why was she so afraid? What was hunting her? What did she know that he didn't? There had to be more to this, more to her sudden appearance, more to the terror that was evident in every move she made. He couldn't just let her run off into the night, alone and terrified. Despite the fact that he barely understood what was happening, something inside him told him that he couldn't leave her. She wasn't just a creature from another world, she was someone in need of help. His mind flickered back to the strange, high-pitched cry he had heard earlier. The noise still haunted him. It had felt like a warning, a signal. But from whom or what? He didn't know. But it was clear that whatever had made that sound was coming for them. It was getting closer. Suddenly, Ryan stumbled. His foot caught on a route hidden beneath the leaves, sending him sprawling to the ground with a thud. Pain shot through his knee as he braced himself, but he didn't have time to recover. He had to keep moving. The alien girl's glow was fading into the distance. Again, and if he didn't catch up soon, he might lose her for good. Pushing himself back to his feet, he sprinted forward, ignoring the pain in his leg. The trees seemed to blur around him, and the forest itself seemed to shift as if it were alive. He had been in these woods countless times before, but now, with the alien girl at the center of everything, it felt different. The forest wasn't just a place, it was a labyrinth, one that was closing in on him as he ran. He began to notice something strange. The forest wasn't just dense, it was changing. The air had grown colder, and the trees felt older, their trunks thicker and more twisted, as though they were part of something ancient. The path ahead was no longer clear, and Ryan found himself navigating through areas he didn't recognize. It was as if the woods themselves were warping, responding to the alien presence that had suddenly appeared in their midst. Ryan's pulse quickened. He wasn't just chasing the alien girl anymore. He was being drawn into something much larger, something far more dangerous. His mind flashed back to the way the creature had reacted earlier, its fear growing with each passing second. It wasn't just running from him, it was running from something else, something dark and powerful. Suddenly, Ryan caught a glimpse of movement ahead. The alien girl had stopped, frozen in place. Her head was tilted slightly to the side, her glowing eyes fixed on something in the distance. Ryan slowed his pace, creeping forward cautiously. He could feel the weight of her fear in the air, thick and oppressive. As he drew closer, he saw it standing in the distance, just beyond the trees. It was a shadow, a figure far too large to be human. It moved with unnatural grace, gliding through the forest like a specter. The shape was shifting, fluid, almost impossible to track. It was coming closer, and Ryan could feel the danger it brought with it. The alien girl's body trembled, her eyes wide with terror. She knew what was coming. Ryan could see it now, the thing that had been hunting her. In an instant, the alien girl darted forward, moving faster than ever before. Ryan didn't hesitate. He followed her, pushing through the trees, his heart racing as the terrifying figure moved closer. He could hear the distant rustling of leaves, the whisper of something moving swiftly in the dark. The figure was almost upon them. Ryan's mind raced. He had no idea what this thing was or what it wanted, but he knew one thing: he had to keep up. The alien girl wasn't just running for her life, she was running from something that could end them both. With every step, Ryan's resolve hardened. He was in this now, whether he understood it or not. And he wasn't about to let whatever this creature was tear her apart. He had to protect her. He had to escape. But as the figure grew nearer, Ryan couldn't help but wonder if they would make it out alive. The forest had become a blur of shifting shadows as Ryan pushed forward, trying to keep pace with the alien girl, whose fear seemed to grow more palpable with every passing second. Her eyes darted from tree to tree, scanning the darkness, her movements frantic yet controlled. She was no longer just fleeing, she was anticipating something, a confrontation that Ryan had yet to fully understand. But it was coming, and it was coming fast. Ryan's mind was spinning. His breath came in, sharp gasps, his legs aching with the effort to keep up. The terror in the air was thick now, not just the alien's fear, but something deeper, more primal, something ancient. The sounds of the forest, normally soothing, the rustling of leaves and distant calls of creatures, had quieted. It was as if even nature itself had fallen silent, holding its breath in the face of whatever was approaching. Then, just as Ryan thought he couldn't take another step, the alien girl stopped abruptly, her small, delicate form froze in place, her head tilted back to stare into the canopy above. Her eyes flickered with an intensity that was almost unnatural, glowing brighter as if they were drawing in the light around them. Ryan stopped beside her, his own gaze turning upward, searching the trees. The air felt different now. It wasn't just cold, it was suffocating, pressing in on him from all sides. A strange, almost metallic scent filled his nostrils, one that he couldn't place. It was unsettling. His eyes darted around, but he saw nothing in the darkened treetops. And then a faint hum, barely perceptible, but growing louder by the second. Ryan's stomach churned. The noise wasn't from the forest. It was something foreign, something mechanical, like the hum of an engine, but somehow more distant, more eerie. The alien girl's trembling hand reached up toward the sky, her body language tense as if trying to signal something. She muttered in that strange, clicking language, her voice shaking. The fear in her tone was undeniable, and for the first time, Ryan realized that this wasn't just a physical danger she was running from. It wasn't just the pursuit, it was something far worse. Before Ryan could ask her what she meant, the sky above them shimmered. The faint hum grew louder, then deeper, vibrating the very air around them. The shadows in the trees stretched unnaturally long, and Ryan's breath caught in his throat as a massive, silent shape passed overhead. He looked up, his eyes wide with disbelief. A craft, a ship, unlike anything he had ever seen, sleek, dark, and shaped like nothing that belonged on Earth. It was gliding through the night sky with a smoothness that defied physics. There were no sounds of an engine, no visible propellers, just an ominous hum that vibrated through the air, like a presence that had been here long before they had ever arrived. Ryan felt a cold shiver race down his spine. The ship wasn't just passing by, it was looking for something. It was scanning the forest, its lights flashing briefly across the treetops, searching for its target. And that target was the alien girl standing beside him. The realization hit Ryan like a freight train. She wasn't just being hunted by some random predator. She was being tracked by her own kind, by the same forces that had brought her here, to this place, to this time. And whatever they weren't just searching for her. They were coming for her. And they would stop at nothing to retrieve her. The alien girl's eyes widened in panic. Her hand dropped to her side and she staggered backward, her breath coming in sharp gasps. Ryan moved instinctively, grabbing her arm to steady her, but she jerked away violently, her body shuddering with fear. "No," she whispered in a trembling voice, her words barely audible over the hum of the ship above. "They are here. They will take me. I must go. I must." Before she could finish, a blinding light flashed from the ship, illuminating the forest in a harsh, sterile glow. The ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble as the ship hovered above them, its presence looming, suffocating. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest. He looked around frantically, his mind racing for any idea of what to do next. But there was no plan, no escape. They were trapped in the clearing, exposed. The alien girl was frozen in place, her eyes wide with terror. Ryan's body went numb as the realization sank in. They weren't just being hunted by some rogue alien force. This was an organized pursuit. Whatever these beings were, they had technology far beyond anything Ryan could comprehend. And it was now aimed squarely at the alien girl and him, by association. He turned to her, his voice urgent. "What do we do? How can we get away from them?" The alien girl's eyes darted back and forth, and for a moment, she didn't respond. She seemed to be calculating, her mind working in overdrive, trying to figure out a way to escape. Her gaze flicked toward the ground, then to the ship, and finally, with a tremor in her voice, she spoke. "You cannot escape them. Not by running, not by hiding. They are always watching." "Hey?" Ryan's stomach dropped. It wasn't just a threat, it was a statement of fact. And in that moment, Ryan understood the terrible truth. They weren't just running from a creature, weren't running from a predator. They were running from an entire system, one that would stop at nothing to reclaim what it considered its property. The air around them crackled with the energy of the ship above, and Ryan felt an icy sense of inevitability. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun. The forest was eerily quiet now. save for the low hum of the alien ship above, its light casting long, jagged shadows across the ground. Ryan stood beside the alien girl, both of them trembling, but for different reasons. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing in on him. This was no longer just a strange encounter in the wilderness. This was survival. It wasn't just his life on the line anymore. The alien girl's delicate features were strained with anxiety. Her eyes flicked between Ryan and the ship above them, her body language tense as if expecting an attack at any moment. Ryan felt the same, every sense in his body screaming that they weren't safe. Yet, despite the danger that was closing in, there was a flicker of something else in her eyes, something more than fear, something like hope. "Why are you helping me?" Her voice, though soft, broke through the silence of the night. Heard it before, the clicking, melodic undertones of her speech, but this time it carried a different weight. It's an urgency that made his heart skip. Ryan hesitated, unsure how to answer. He had no idea why he was helping her. In truth, he barely understood what was happening, let alone why he felt this strange sense of duty to protect her. But something inside him, the same instinct that had always guided him through the wilderness, told him that this wasn't just a chance encounter. This wasn't some random event. He had been drawn here, to this exact moment, and the universe had put him on this path for a reason. "Because you need it," he said, his voice raw and unsure. "And because I can't just stand by and watch you get taken. Whatever this is, whatever's happening, I don't think I can just walk away." The alien girl's eyes softened, the fierce edge of fear beginning to fade just a little. She took a hesitant step toward him, her gaze searching his face as if trying to understand him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. It felt like the entire world had gone silent, waiting for the next move. Then, with a deep breath, she nodded slowly, her lips curving into something that was almost a smile. It was small, fragile, but it meant something. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice so quiet that Ryan almost didn't hear it over the hum of the ship. Ryan swallowed hard, didn't fully understand what he had just committed to, but as she spoke, something shifted inside him. A realization he couldn't deny. He wasn't just helping her out of a sense of duty or pity. There was a deeper connection here, one that he couldn't explain but knew he couldn't ignore. This alien, this being who had appeared out of nowhere, who was now standing in front of him, desperately trying to escape some unknown force, wasn't just a stranger. She was someone worth protecting. "I'll help you get away," Ryan said, his voice firm this time, as if sealing some unspoken pact between them. "We can't let them take you." The alien girl's eyes widened slightly, a glimmer of something almost like disbelief flashing across her face. She'd been running alone for so long, it seemed, that the idea of anyone offering their help, let alone standing beside her against the forces chasing her, was a concept she hadn't allowed herself to believe. But now, in the face of this raw, uncertain promise, there was something else in her expression, a flicker of relief. "Thank you," she said again, but this time there was a strength behind her words, a weight that Ryan hadn't noticed before. The ship above them made a low, ominous hum, its searchlights sweeping the area once again. The lights flickered, scanning, searching for them.
Oh.
But for a brief moment, Ryan and the alien girl stood in the shadow of the trees, locked in an unspoken bond. Ryan looked at her, his mind racing. "Do you know where we can go? Somewhere safe?" She hesitated, her eyes darting to the ship again, and then back to Ryan. "I know places, but they'll be looking for me everywhere. They won't stop until they find me." Ryan clenched his fists. He had no experience in dealing with intergalactic chases or alien technology, but he was a survivalist. He knew the land, the forest, the way of the wild. He could navigate the toughest terrain. But this, this was something else entirely. "I don't care," he said, his voice hard with resolve. "We'll keep moving. We'll find a way to stay ahead of them." She nodded again, the faintest glimmer of trust forming in her eyes. The ship above them began to move, slowly, silently, a cold shadow that loomed like a predator circling its prey. But Ryan didn't flinch. He couldn't, not when the stakes were this high. Not when it was no longer just about surviving the wilderness, but about protecting someone who couldn't survive this alone. The alien girl reached into a pouch on her side, pulling out a small cylindrical device. She held it out to him, and he took it without question. It was unlike anything Ryan had ever seen before, smooth and metallic, with strange symbols etched along its surface. "It's a tracker," she explained, her voice tense. "It will help us stay hidden. They can't find us if we use this." Ryan looked at the device, then back at her, his grip tightening around it. "What exactly are they? The ones who are after you. Why are they chasing you?" Her gaze darkened, her face tight with pain. I can't explain everything yet. But they are my people, and they are not ... kind. Ryan felt a chill run through him. The tension in the air thickened as the ship above them shifted its position, its searchlights scanning with deadly precision. They were running out of time. "Then we'd better get moving," Ryan said, a spark of determination igniting inside him. He turned, motioning for her to follow. They had no time to waste. The forces hunting her were relentless, but Ryan was ready to fight for her no matter what it took. Together, they would find a way to escape. They had no choice, now only survival. And as they disappeared into the forest, Ryan knew one thing for certain. This was no longer just a chase. It was a fight for both their lives. The forest around them felt alive, the shadows stretching unnaturally long as Ryan and the alien girl pushed forward through the dense underbrush. The air was thick with tension, the sound of their hurried footsteps barely audible over the ever-present hum of the alien ship above. The once peaceful wilderness had turned into a battleground, and every rustling leaf, every snap of a twig beneath their feet seemed to amplify the weight of the chase. Ryan glanced at the alien girl, her face tense with concentration as she guided them through the forest. The tracker she had given him was warm to the touch, its symbols glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. It was supposed to help them evade detection, but Ryan knew it wasn't a guarantee. The ship above was relentless, its searchlights sweeping the trees like a predator stalking its prey. Time was running out, and with every passing minute, their chances of escaping grew slimmer. "What happens if they find us?" Ryan asked, his voice low and tense. The words felt too real, too close to the situation they were in, but he had to ask. The alien girl's eyes flickered to the sky, her lips tightening. "If they find us... it's over. They will take me back, no questions, no mercy. I won't survive that." Her voice shook slightly, but she quickly masked it with determination. "We have to stay hidden. We can't let them catch us. If we make it to the ridge ahead, there's a place I know. It's a dead zone, no signals, no tracking." Ryan nodded, his heart pounding. Every instinct told him to trust her. She had proven time and again that she knew how to survive. But now, with the ship hovering above them, he wasn't sure how much longer they could stay one step ahead. Suddenly, a crack echoed from behind them. Ryan froze. His hand instinctively went to the rifle slung across his back, but before he could react, the alien girl grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong despite her delicate frame. "No time," she whispered urgently. "We need to move now." Ryan didn't need any further explanation. Without a word, they turned and sprinted deeper into the forest, pushing through the thick underbrush with frantic energy. The ships. Searchlights flashed above them, cutting through the trees, and Ryan could hear the low hum of engines getting louder. They were close to close. The ridge she had mentioned was just ahead, a narrow path leading up to higher ground where the trees were sparser, offering fewer places to hide but also making it harder for the ship to track them through the dense canopy. If they could make it to the top, they might have a chance. As they neared the base of the ridge, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. The ship was above them, its searchlights skimming the treetops, and Ryan could feel the cold weight of the inevitable closing in. He stole a quick glance at the alien girl. Her face was set in a grim expression, her eyes focused on the path ahead. There was no sign of hesitation. She was determined, but Ryan could see the underlying fear beneath her calm exterior. "Just a little farther," she said, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship. Ryan nodded, pushing his legs to move faster, ignoring the burning in his muscles. They were almost there. The ridge loomed ahead like a distant promise, a place where they might be able to finally get a break. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. As they reached the base of the ridge, Ryan heard something that made his blood run cold. The ship's engines suddenly roared louder, followed by a blast of static and a distorted voice that crackled through the air. It was a voice, but it wasn't from the ship itself. It was a transmission, coming from the ship's source. "Target acquired," the voice said, mechanical and cold. "Engaging containment protocols? Preparing for retrieval?" Ryan's heart skipped a beat. They had been spotted. "Run!" the alien girl shouted, her voice rising in panic. She turned and began to climb the ridge, moving with a speed and grace that belied her fear. Ryan followed. Closely, his breath ragged, the rifle still in his hand, but his mind was racing. How long before they were trapped?
How long?
Before the ship descended and locked them in. The ridge was steep, and with every step, it felt as though the ground beneath them was giving way. Ryan's hands were slick with sweat, and his vision blurred with the intensity of the climb. But they couldn't stop. Not now. Not when they were so close to safety. The ship was almost directly above them now, its searchlights flickering in and out like a heartbeat. Ryan could hear the low hum of the engines, the sound growing louder with each passing second. He knew it was only a matter of time before the ship descended on them. But then, as they reached the crest of the ridge, something unexpected happened. The alien girl paused, her gaze fixed on something ahead. Ryan looked over her shoulder and saw the faint outline of a clearing. It was small, hidden among the trees, but it was enough to break the line of sight from the ship. "We can hide there," she said urgently, her voice steady but full of desperation. Just a little farther, without waiting for a response. She bolted toward the clearing, her speed unmatched. Ryan followed, his legs feeling like lead, but he pushed forward with everything he had. As they reached the clearing, the ship's shadow loomed overhead, the searchlights scanning the ground below. Ryan's heart hammered in his chest, and he glanced around desperately. The clearing was small, barely big enough to conceal them. But there was no other option. The alien girl grabbed his arm again, pulling him down into a crouch beside a cluster of thick bushes at the edge of the clearing. They sat in the shadows, barely breathing, the ship above them like an ominous presence, its searchlights slicing through the darkness. Ryan's body shook from the strain of the chase, but he dared not move. He had to trust that the tracker she had given him, the technology that was supposed to mask their presence, would hold up. He had to believe that the ship wouldn't find them here. Minutes felt like hours, the ship hovering above them, scanning, searching. Then, just as Ryan thought he couldn't stand the pressure any longer, the lights began to move away. Slowly, methodically, the ship started to shift position, moving off into the distance. Ryan exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. They were safe, for now. But the alien girl was still trembling beside him, her eyes wide with both relief and fear. She wasn't just relieved to be out of immediate danger. She was aware that the real fight had only just begun. The ship had given up the search for now, but it would be back. The forces after her were relentless, and she knew this temporary escape was just the beginning of a much longer battle. Ryan looked at her, his voice low but steady. "Where do we go from here?" The alien girl glanced up at him, her expression grim. But there was something else in her eyes now, something like trust, something like hope. "We keep moving," she said, her voice a quiet promise, "and we fight. Together." And in that moment, Ryan knew that no matter what lay ahead, they weren't alone. They had each other, and that was enough to face whatever the future held.